everybody, it's Katie, the Celestial Homebody, and welcome to today's video where I am going to de-influence you from buying one of these Wooble kits. Now, if you've been around on the channel for a little bit, you might know that I've got some beef with the Woobles. And by doing this video, I am well aware that I'm probably going to be burning any bridge of any sliver of a chance that I ever had of doing a sponsorship with the Woobles. But I am very well aware that not everybody has the cash to front $40 to $50 just to learn how to crochet. So today I'm going to be doing something that just cost me just a little bit of my dignity, and I am going to be doing a Woobles kit. I'm going to give you guys my completely unfiltered, honest thoughts about these kits and if they're worth the money. Spoiler alert, they're not. But I'm going to try to set all of my biases aside as I'm working on these. And then at the end of the video, I will tell you why I've got beef. And I'm also going to give you guys some resources in the description box. If you cannot afford a Woobles kit, or if you're like me and just think that they're ugly because they're potatoes with eyes, in the description box, there's going to be some resources for you to learn how to crochet, going to good old-fashioned YouTube University, as well as some beginner-friendly patterns that are good for you if this is your first time ever crocheting. One thing that Woobles is known for is those little videos to help beginners learn how to crochet. However, I'm actually going to put that to the test this week as I try these and see, are those videos that they have really any better than the free videos that you can watch on YouTube? So as I'm making these this week, please keep in mind that I am an experienced crocheter, but I'm going to pretend like I have no knowledge of crochet. I'm going to push it all into the back of my mind, and I'm going to give these babies a shot. So I'm speaking in plurals because I got not one, but two Woobles kits because I'm a sucker for Sanrio things, and they did a Sanrio collab. So in this handy dandy package here, I have both the Kiki and Lala Woobles crochet kits. So this is what we're going to be doing this week. Now, my first impressions is I really like the packaging. I mean, this isn't new to me because I see these in stores all the time. I really like this really thick vinyl, whatever this is, but it's nice. And I also like that it has a little cutouts on top to rip, because if you know me, you know that I will cut into anything that's in a package because I'm a heathen and can't cut it delicately, mindfully, and demurely. So let's open up this first one and see what we're working with here. All right, right off the bat, I see a lot of pink. Okay, so we have some yarn. Oh my gosh. Okay, this hook is so cute. Oh my goodness. Look at how cute that hook is. So here's the thing. I didn't even say this. Each of these kits is, I think, $30. After tax and everything, I spent almost $70 on these two kits, and each Woobles kit comes with a crochet hook. If it's a collaboration like this one with Little Twin Stars, it's going to be a limited edition specialty crochet hook, which, not gonna lie to you, that's part of the reason why I wanted to buy these kits. But we're going to see if these hooks, although they are cute, are actually going to be worth it in terms of how they crochet. And even though this handle is precious, I'm already seeing some issues with the hook. The first being that the neck is very, very short. So while this hook might work with a thinner yarn like what they gave to me in the package here, this is not going to be a good hook for using with anything chunkier. Also, if you're planning on doing like bobble stitches or anything like that where you have to have multiple loops on your hook at once, this Woobles hook is not going to do the job because you're going to run out of neck room really, really quickly. Also, the metal looks very, very rough. And I will see if I can get some better B-roll later of two hooks next to each other of my good quality tulip crochet hooks, which is my tried and true, versus these. And you can just feel how scratchy these are, which is not good because, again, using the yarn that they give you, it might be okay, but using any other type of yarn like acrylic, for example, you're going to feel a lot of tugging and tension on your hook. Also, the last thing that I'm noticing about this hook, which, you know what, hang on, I'm going to open the other package and see if it's the same with both. I wonder if this is a different hook. Maybe it's going to be the blue version of it. Yep, here it is. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. Look at these hooks. Ah, I love them. Okay, so let's see if it's an issue with this. Oh no, that's bad. It's even worse on this one. Okay, so I'm holding this handle straight. So this is how I hold my hook in my hand. I rest my thumb right here on the Woobles logo and hold it facing me like this. Here is a major problem. Do you see how where my thumb goes, it's facing right at you? Look at where the hook is landing. Do you see how the actual hook itself is turned? That is going to be detrimental for a beginner because this is going to teach you how to crochet incorrectly. On a good quality crochet hook, this actual hook part should be perfectly in line with where you grip. So already right off the bat, I am not impressed with the quality of these hooks. Although the handles are adorable, these hooks might end up just being little showpiece hooks that I keep in my little pencil cup. But you can see how on the blue one, it's turned. The pink one is ever so slightly turned. That shouldn't cause too much of an issue, but look at that blue one. This quality control is just not great on these kits, and for the price that you pay for these, I would expect these to be very high quality hooks. Let's talk about the yarn. So first of all, love the packaging, love how they took the time and the extra step to put the branding and the licensing for these particular kits onto the little skeins. They give you as much yarn as they anticipate you needing, plus a little bit extra to do each project. So this one, this dark pink, looks like it's going to be for the hair, and then this light pink looks like it's going to be for the little potato body and the sleeves. We're going to see if I run out of yarn or if I have a bunch left over. The feeling of this yarn is really nice. And as a beginner, this t-shirt type yarn is great because normal yarn like acrylic and cotton, which is what beginners tend to grab when they're first starting, looks like this. And I don't know if you can see, but this yarn has a bunch of little strands that are actually twisted together to make the yarn. And what might happen as a beginner is when you're inserting your hook, you accidentally split the yarn, as we call it. And that means that your hook goes in between those strands just like that. And then you don't grab the entire strand of yarn. So this t-shirt yarn is great because there is no splitting. I am every single time going to be able to grab that entire strand of yarn right there. So it looks like we also have a little bit of yellow for her little hair star. We have some stuffing here. We have the skin tone, which in this lighting actually almost looks light pink. And then we have this little kit, says new Woobly Bits How to Wooble. Oh my gosh, the little sticker on the back too. That's nice. That is a nice touch that they really take the time to customize each kit. And I do know that the licensed Woobles, like the ones that I'm trying today, are a little bit more expensive because the company needs to pay for the rights to use these characters. So, for example, the Sanrio collab, the Minecraft collab, etc. Those kits are going to be a little bit more expensive than just their standard little animal kits. But since I'm making this video, I might as well try something that I'm actually going to use. Maybe I'll set these little guys on my desk. We've got a little tiny bit of black yarn. I'm assuming that is for embroidery. And then also in here, we have a needle for doing that embroidery. And then we have 3 safety eyes, but they only gave me 2 backs. So I'm not sure why that is. It would make sense to include 3 pairs of eyes just in case you lose one. But I guess they're assuming that if you're going to lose anything, you're going to lose one of the eyes and not one of the backs, because they only gave me 2 backs and 3 eyes. And then on this little card, which is very, very cute, on the back, there's the QR code in order to use their little tutorials. So that was everything in the La La kit. Let's take a look at the Kiki kit and see if there is anything different. Okay, so we've got the yellow yarn for his little star pin. We've got some light blue. It looks like the band is almost the same as the La La one, except this one obviously has Kiki on it. We have this really pretty teal color. Also the stuffing, the skin color. Also, I didn't realize this in the other kit, but stitch markers come already on here. So it looks like they start the magic circle for you. And if you're new to crochet, which I'm assuming you are if you're watching this video, the magic ring or the magic circle is something that stops a lot of beginners and even experienced crocheters for that matter from doing amigurumi. I personally do not use the magic circle. There is a different way to start amigurumi that you do not need to fiddle with this little thing, but we can talk about that later. It looks like we've got the skin tone here with 3 stitch markers. I really wish that they had at least color coordinated the stitch markers. Like, they did such a good job with all of the other branding on this package. But then my stitch markers that they gave me are giving the energy of Beetlejuice, and that doesn't go with this pastel kawaii kit. So maybe something to consider, Woobles. Okay, in here, we also have this little card with the picture on it and the QR code on the back to get the tutorials. We've got our needle. And then in this one, they actually gave me 3 whole sets of safety eyes. So I don't know if that other one, maybe one of the backs got left out on accident, but we do have 3 sets. So that is nice in case you accidentally lose a set or if it pops out of your stitches. So that is everything that came in the packages. So I am going to turn the camera off and go get crocheting, and I will be using the designated hooks that came with each kit. So even this really poor quality one in which the hook is not aligned with the handle, I'm going to use, and we're going to see how it works out for me. So I'm going to be back with you shortly to show you guys my finished Woobles and give you my unfiltered opinion about how it was to actually make these things. I will see you in a moment. Okay, so it's been a few days and I have some thoughts. Most of them not good. So I'll start by showing you the finished product. So I made one of them, and then my husband Ryan, who is also a crocheter, he made one of them. So I made Kiki here, and here is what he looks like. And then Ryan made Lala, and here is what she looks like. And there they are together. Now, Ryan has much tighter tension than I do, and he is used to working with finer yarn. I tend to only work with the plush stuff, so you can tell the size difference when you have tighter tension. The one that I did, obviously, is a little bit bigger with slightly bigger holes. So let's start there. Now, first and foremost, these are ugly. These are literally potatoes with eyes. And you know what? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but I am not the one beholding this beauty. You might think Woobles are cute. I personally think that they are pretty ugly. There are a handful that are cute. They're meant to be an easy shape to learn how to crochet, but because of their rotund shape, it's very easy to mimic the look of a Woobles without having to dish out the money for a Woobles. So let's start with the yarn. So at the beginning of this video, when I first opened it, I was mentioning how the yarn is great to use for beginners because it doesn't split and the stitches are easy to see. However, there is a major downside to this yarn, and that is the fact that it is so incredibly stretchy that you can't do anything but get holes in your work. Ryan has insanely tight tension, and his work is, I mean, if you've been around the channel for a while, you've seen how tight his stitches are and pristine his crochet stitches are. And even in his work, there are holes. And you know what's funny? And by funny, I mean definitely false advertising, is on these cards and on the packages. Do you see how there are no holes in this work? It leads you to believe that this is exactly what your Woobles is going to turn out like. But what's ironic is that in the actual written pattern that you have to download, there are holes galore. I mean, these things are holier than the Pope. And it is clear to me now that they have photoshopped the actual images of the marketing materials so that it's made to look like you're not going to have an incredibly holy Kiki and Lala. And the reason that you can't help but get holes in your Woobles is because the makeup of this yarn is super duper stretchy. So the tighter you pull your tension, it's almost like the bigger the holes that you get because it just stretches out the yarn. So although there are some pros to this yarn, there's also the major con of it's not going to look pristine. And I think that this is going to be incredibly discouraging if you're a beginner, because you're going to look at this picture and you're going to say, why doesn't mine look like that? Why does mine look sloppy and holy and not good? And it's not your fault. And I feel like that is just going to train new crocheters to have incredibly tight tension because they're trying to get rid of those holes because they don't know any better that it is just the yarn itself that's stretching on them. And it's going to teach them to crochet super duper tightly, which is not necessarily a good thing. It causes extra strain on your hands and your wrists and your forearms. I mean, if you want to get really buff, you can crochet really tightly, but I feel like for the most part, that's not a good thing. Speaking of the materials and not being good quality and teaching newbies how to crochet the wrong way, let's talk about the hooks. So at the beginning of this video, right out of the package, I noticed some major quality issues with these hooks. And although they are as cute as can be, oh my goodness, I love them. I should have actually put them in my hair today instead of these hooks that I made. But anyways, they are as cute as can be, but the quality of these hooks is so poor. I did crochet with the Kiki hook that came with this Woobles kit, and Ryan crocheted with the Lala hook that came with this Woobles kit, and both of us had wrist pain at the end. And that is because we were having to turn our wrist like extra because the hook is not centered with the handle. The hook is actually not grasping the yarn properly as you go to pull through your stitch. So you have to kind of do like this weird pivot thing with your wrist. It is exhausting physically on your hands to have to do so. Also, the hooks are incredibly rough, and I noticed this right out of the package just by feeling it. I could feel how rough and grabby this hook would be, and sure enough, as we were working with it, both of us were saying that it's taking us a lot longer to crochet than we normally do with good quality hooks. There's another crochet YouTube channel that I will link for you in the description box, but Elise actually compared using a scientific method different crochet hooks and how grabby they are, how rough the actual metal was. And sure enough, Woobles hooks are the grabbiest and roughest hooks that you can use.
All right, now let's just swap to the Harry Potter one real quick.
Okay.
And see.
Wow, it's just a bumpy, it's a really, really bumpy surface.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a Furl's Odyssey.
Oh, wow.
Even I can see that. It's like a mirror.
It is.
So as a beginner, that can be incredibly discouraging because I am a firm believer that the tools make the artist. Whether you be a painter, a potter, or a crocheter, if you are not using a high quality hook and yarn, even as a beginner, it can be really discouraging when you're not going super fast, when you're getting holes in your work, when you're not being able to pick up the loop, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because the hook is not made correctly. All of those things not good for beginners. So although the hooks look cute, are they worth the $50 that you have to pay for the entire kit just to sit on your shelf? Probably not, because as an experienced crocheter myself, I will definitely not be using it anytime soon. Maybe as hair accessories though. So let's talk about the actual Woobles instructions themselves, since that is a major selling point for a lot of beginners for the Woobles kits. So yes, I already do know how to crochet, but I did go into it pretending like I didn't know anything, and I watched all of the videos of how to do a single crochet, and I found them very clear. That being said though, there are multiple YouTube channels that are free for viewing right here on YouTube that do the exact same thing and explain it the exact same way without needing to pay the hefty price tag for a Woobles kit. When I first opened the packages, I mentioned how I would have loved the stitch markers to be color coordinated like everything else was in the package with the character, but I came to find out that the stitch markers are actually color coded so that in the video they can tell you the orange one is for this, the green ones are for this, yada yada yada. So it makes sense why they were color coded for the instructional videos. However, I think my biggest gripe about the tutorials is that they are not specific to the Woobles kits that you are doing. So I got so incredibly confused. As you can see, he is blue. The yarn that they were using in the video was blue, but it was a slightly different shade of blue. So I wasn't sure what I was supposed to start with. There were no instructions on the screen or anything telling me start with the dark teal, start with the light blue. It was just a slightly different color blue. So I was like, am I starting with the hair? Am I starting with the body? I had no idea. So I had to frog it out because I started with the dark blue thinking that it matched what they were using in the video. And it ended up being that I was supposed to start with the light blue and that the videos were just some generic Woobles penguin that they were making. They were not even showing me exactly how to make this thing. The only videos that were specific to these two characters were for the little star accessory and for the hair, but for everything else it was just a generic Woobles tutorial. So I'm like, for paying that much money, for paying $50 per kit, I expect, like bare minimum, that the videos that you're showing me how to crochet this is actually this that you're creating. So I don't know if this issue is pertinent in all of the kits for all of the different characters and critters, but at least for the two that I did, it was the case where the videos did not match the specific thing that I was making. If you're paying all of this money for a beginner's Woobles kit, but the video does not match up to what you're actually making, why not use a completely free YouTube tutorial? So down in the description box, I am going to link for you guys a bunch of resources to videos that I personally found helpful when I was learning how to crochet. Pretty much everything that the Woobles taught me in video, I'm going to link for you a free YouTube version. Now, because we're all different kinds of learners here, and of course there's different strokes for different folks, it is up to you to decide if that particular video tutorial is helpful for you personally. me. It might take a little bit of time researching and trying out some videos on YouTube to see which instructor and which instruction style resonates with you as a person. So just keep that in mind. Also, in regards to the money that you spend for a kit, I would also expect there to be a written pattern printed out for you in the bag. Why is there no written pattern? There are a myriad of different learners, and if you are a newbie to crochet, just watching the videos is probably not going to be enough for you to physically see how the pattern is written out. And while the videos do a good job teaching you how to read a pattern, why don't they have it printed out so that you can reference the actual written pattern while you're watching the videos? I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me. You can download digitally the pattern, but if you're on your phone like I was doing this, it is a pain to switch back between your downloads folder and to the website where you're actually watching the tutorials. Yes, you could do the extra step of printing out the downloaded digital instructions yourself, but you're paying $50 for this kit, so why isn't it already included? One thing that Woobles does do really well is they have an option for the tutorials for both left-handed and right-handed crocheters. So it is very easy to toggle back and forth if you want to learn right-handed or left-handed. But again, that being said, all of the other gripes that I had with the tutorial videos, like them not being for each specific character that you're making, that all applies to the left-handed videos as well. Another thing that I'll mention that is a positive kind of for the Woobles is that the kits already come with a magic ring made, which if you are new to crochet, a magic ring is something that a lot of crocheters really struggle with. It's the start of pretty much all amigurumi or plushie crochet. And so Woobles knew that it is difficult for a lot of crocheters, both experienced and new crocheters, to get a good grasp of that magic ring. So it comes pre-done for you, which is great in some regards. However, if you are doing a pattern like what I had to do with these, you have to make magic rings on your own because they started it for me for the like the base, but they did not start it for me for the hair or for both of the arms on both patterns. So while I appreciate the effort and the thoughtfulness behind starting that magic ring for beginners, it's kind of a waste of time. It's kind of a waste because if you're doing a pattern like these, you're going to need to learn how to do a magic ring on your own sooner or later. And confession, I do not do a magic ring. I do a chain 2 method, which is a heck of a lot easier than a magic circle, and you get pretty much the same result. I've never had an issue doing a chain 2 method as opposed to a magic circle. So if you're a newbie, maybe look into the chain 2 method to start an amigurumi plushie instead of the magic ring if you're getting stuck there. So just for funsies, I wanted to show you guys what these little characters would look like if you actually used high quality materials. So I remade the Woobles pattern, and although yes, they're still potatoes with eyes and still pretty ugly and shapeless, they do look a lot cuter now. So I made them in chenille yarn. This yarn is both Sweet Snuggles Light, you can get it at Michael's, and also Elise Voluto. It comes all the way overseas from Turkey, so that is a little bit harder of a yarn to get, but I just wanted to make these to show you. Look at how there aren't any holes. Look at them in combination. They're a lot cuter because I used eyes that were appropriately sized instead of the ones that they sent in the kit. Here is Kiki together with his counterpart. So you'll have to let me know which one do you like better. My feelings won't be hurt if you say that you like the Woobles one over the ones that I made. Well, I made both of them, but you get what I mean. Oh, I also added a little bit of blush to mine because if you know me, you know that I put blush on pretty much all of my plushies. But I just did this to show you that you do not need a very expensive Woobles kit to make something that is incredibly adorable and easy to make. Also, I want to point out that because of the poor quality hook and the yarn tension issue that we discussed earlier, this guy took me about 2 hours, and I do consider myself a pretty fast crocheter. In comparison, this one only took me about an hour. So it took me an additional hour just because I was working with the not so good materials, and I was also having to reference back and forth from the tutorial videos to the written pattern as we discussed earlier. So if you have done a Woobles kit in the past and you thought that yours did not turn out very well because you have holes, because it took you forever, do not worry. You're not alone. Even me, as an experienced crocheter, had issues making these. So as promised, I told you guys that I would tell you how to DIY a Woobles kit without having to dish out the $70 that I did. Granted, I did get 2 kits at a discount, but for a normal Woobles kit, it's like 40 bucks. So here's what I want you to do. It does involve a little bit more work than just getting a kit in the mail, but you're going to save so much money, and I promise you, you're going to get higher quality materials that will make you a better crocheter right off the bat. So first up, you're obviously going to need yarn. So at Michael's, they have a yarn brand called Loops and Threads. It is their in-house brand, and they have a newer yarn that's out. It's called Cuddle Craft Tube. I'll put a clip of it in here, but it looks just like the Woobles yarn. The best part about it, though, is it is only a fraction of the cost. Michael's almost always has 30% off coupons that you can pull up online and use in store. If you do that, this skein of yarn is only like $5 compared to the Woobles yarn that you can also get in store, which is like $12 for a single skein. A tip for you is that if you are just learning how to crochet, you do not need to go crazy with a bunch of colors. Something that is really appealing about the Woobles kit is that it comes with all of the colors that you need to complete these. So you saw all of the different colors that came with both of my kits. However, you don't need to go ham on buying yarn at first. Get one color that's a color that you just like, just to practice with and see if you even like crochet. And if you do, then you can start hoarding yarn and buying it in bits and pieces. And you better be careful because soon enough, you might have a yarn room like I do. Next, you're going to need a crochet hook, and you can pick this up at Michael's while you're there getting your yarn. There are hooks also available at Walmart. No matter where you get your hook in person, I can almost guarantee you it's going to be better quality than the ones that come in the Woobles kits, although they will not be as aesthetic. I'm just warning you. With this yarn that you're going to pick up at Michael's, I recommend a 4 or a 5mm crochet hook. A 5mm is going to be easier for you to use, but you are going to get significant holes. So if you are just learning, I recommend going with the 5mm just to practice. Then once you get the hang of it, switch over to a 4mm crochet hook to combat some of those big holes that you're getting in your work. You're also going to need a tapestry needle, which you can pick up there at Michael's as well. The last major thing that you're going to need is some sort of stuffing material. I really like using polyfill. You can also pick that up at Michael's, but it is pretty expensive there. I recommend getting it at Walmart, or of course you can get it on Amazon. If you'd like to, you can purchase some safety eyes, which are these little bead-like eyes that go into your work, but it is not necessary. If you're just starting out, you can practice embroidering the eyes with just some black embroidery thread. That's actually a great skill to have as a plushie creator, being able to embroider things onto your work. So I'll link a video for that in the description box as well. And then things that you probably already have at home are scissors. scissors and something to use as a stitch marker, which honestly, I just use a scrap piece of yarn. You don't even need one of those fancy little lock things. Just put a scrap piece of yarn in there if you need to. I'm going to link for you in the description box, along with all of those free YouTube tutorials that I mentioned, an Amazon list with all of these things. If you do not have a Michael's or Walmart or craft store near you, I will link everything on Amazon because they ship worldwide, I'm pretty sure, so that you can just have it delivered right at your front door, just like a Woobles kit. But all in all, you can create your own Woobles kit and make anything that your heart desires with a YouTube tutorial for under $30. And with all of that stuff that you've already purchased, all of that polyfill and yarn and safety eyes, all of that good stuff, you're going to have enough material to make like 15 different critters. So when you break it down, you can easily start crocheting. So do not let the price of Woobles discourage you from getting into crochet. You do not have to have a ton of money to get into the craft, and I promise you that you'll be able to learn to crochet without burning the $40 to $70 hole in your wallet. So leave me a comment down below. Have you ever tried a Woobles kit? If you did, what did you think of it? Or are you new to crochet? If so, hit that subscribe button. I invite you to join the Homebody family. We talk all things crochet here on the channel, from easy to very complicated patterns, how to sell your crochet at markets if you decide to get there in the future. We go yarn shopping and do yarn unboxings if you're looking for your new favorite yarn to crochet with, and much, much more. So I hope that you stick around and hang out with us for a while. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you on the next one. Bye-bye!